The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. With your host, Dave Hondel.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Stage Door Show. Tonight, this is Dave Hondel. Tonight, my guest, I'm so excited to have her on the show. She's an iconic actress, producer, writer, director in Hollywood, and she's had such a great career over the several decades here. And I couldn't be more happy to have her on the show. You've seen her on Renegade, Halloween 4, Silk Stockings, Bride of Reanimator, That Thing You Do, and so many more. So welcome to the show, Miss Kathleen Kinmont. Thanks for being with us, Kathleen.
Thank you so much for having me, Dave. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. And I know you have a new movie out that came out on Christmas called Kangaroo Kids with your friend Branscombe Richmond. And we just had him on the show and his son, Fide-Eye. The other day, and I saw the film. It was great. I really enjoyed your performance. I enjoyed the whole movie and everything that went inside of it. And it's nice because, it's a family film, and I think we need more family films right now. So it's great. So we're going to start out with that. So what was your experience like on that film that just came out?
Well, you mentioned the two people that really brought me on. Obviously, Branscombe, who I've known since Renegade and who I've loved, for decades, and has been a great friend, and has brought me on to do several other projects. But the opportunity to work with his son, Fide-Eye, who I've known since he was 9 years old, was like
on the set, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just. I'm a second generational actor as well. So it is great to see, the circus performers still continuing on with what their parents taught them.
Yeah.
And kind of following in the footsteps and in other genres, like Fide-Eye's, he just stepped right into behind the camera, which is so cool. And doing it for a while, and this was a really great opportunity to be given this feature. And he was so wonderful with everybody, but especially the kids, because the kids are so wonderful in this film. And that was the one thing that was my big takeaway, is that they're all just incredibly talented, and the young actress who plays Johnny, Josefina Pena. She, it's just really great to see young talent and being, brought into the scene by young talent. Everybody's really promoting and supporting, and that was really neat to be a part of that. And I loved playing a mom. I am a mom. I have a 19-year-old daughter who is a dancer. And she is currently at AMDA, which is the American Musical Dramatic Academy. So that's basically like fame goes to college. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
My brother was in the TV show Fame. He was a sideline musician back in the day of, Debbie Allen and that great TV show. So, it's great to just see artists supporting artists and people just still doing it and, really taking it to another level and stepping out of his comfort zone in Hawaii and going into Kentucky and filming the show there and bringing his core people and trusting people that he's been friends with and knows. And so I just felt really honored to be a part of it. And
I got to tell you, just a tremendous performance on your part and everybody. And you mentioned the kids, and, you started your career since you really were born. You've been in the industry because of your mother, obviously, too. Abby Dalton, and your father, I believe, was also in the industry, correct?
No, he was always very famous, but he was not in the entertainment industry. He was an electrician. Well, he was an electrical businessman. He owned an electrical distributing company, but he was that guy that my mom always said, no matter where they were, anywhere in the world, he was the one that would run into an old friend and you'd hear Jack from like across the airport. She'd be like, hey, I thought I was a celebrity, but no, he was always the famous guy. But yeah, I grew up in a really great part of LA, which is Toluca Lake.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so we were just always surrounded by celebrities, really. You know, Gary Marshall, Frankie Avalon, you know, we were in the same genre or just the same neighborhood, really, is what it was. And so I just kind of grew up with it. I never really thought it was that big of a deal when I was a kid. It wasn't until I really got into the business and saw how unique and really lucky that is to be around it. It doesn't guarantee you a career,
Right.
for sure. What it does guarantee you a career is how much you want it and
Yeah.
how much you're willing to go for it. And, you know, regardless of how many times you hear the word no or nothing.
Right. Yeah. Nothing is even worse.
These days.
Yeah.
There's
I
no
know that a
feedback.
lot of our listeners, you know, we talk about that a lot. You know, you're going to hear no way more than you hear yes, even if you're in the business. You know, it's when you're not working, you're unemployed. I mean, that's the life of an actor. And regardless of what you've done today, tomorrow doesn't guarantee you another job. And you know, so that's well said. You know, that's one thing I, you know, with all of our new listeners out there, new actors and even singers, whatever you do, you know, you just got to keep grinding, right? You got to keep going after it. And if you really love it, then you do it for free. If you could do it for free and get paid for it at some point, I mean, that's what it's all about. You're doing your passion.
Right. And this is a business that is really based on that. And it's based on sheer determination of how much you're willing to go and show up for, because people get discouraged, and that's normal. That's a natural thing. But that, for me, I've made my rejection into my rocket fuel.
Yeah.
Because it's really, you know, it you can't predict what's going to happen, but you can determine how you're going to respond to it. And I do my best just to be like, next. You know, in this day and age where we are given the opportunity to do self-tape, the only bummer about self-tape is that you don't get immediate direction while you're doing it. But in those days, in those rooms, you only probably got maybe 2 goes at it. Like sometimes just one crack at it and you're out the door. And then you're just pounding your steering wheel all the way home. But these days, you know, you're given the opportunity with time and filming it yourself and getting it the way you want it. So for me, I'm like, when I send it off, it's done, and I don't really think about it anymore because it was truly my best effort.
Yeah.
But I also think that there's a lot of luck involved, and if you don't really kind of set yourself up for something else to do, if the luck isn't there, and having something else as a plan B so that you don't always feel so desperate about every single job and so torn up about every single loss, then, you know, you have something else to fall back on. I mean, that's what I really love about AMDA, is that their theory is that the entertainment industry is 10% talent and 90% business.
Right.
Have your business so down, like that you know how to budget, you know how to live the life of an artist, which is hand to mouth usually, usually always. But you know, if you can still do it and you're doing what you love and you're doing your passion, then who cares, right? I mean,
You know, one other thing I was going to mention that you know, you're saying you maybe pounding your steering wheel all the way home. Have you ever had an audition where you just thought, oh my gosh, I blew it, I'm never going to get called back, and then you end up getting the job? Have you ever had a situation like that?
Yes, I have had that where I thought it was just the worst ever, and then I got the call. And then I've had the worst ever, and I didn't get the call. So yeah, I've had both. I've definitely experienced like, oh my God, that was so cringe. And then, you know, on your way to wardrobe, and you're like, God, do I have to do what I did in there to I want to fix it?
Well, I know the horror fans out there, you know, remember you from Halloween 4. The Return of Michael Myers, and talk about that experience. How did that audition go, first of all, and second of all, how was the experience on making that movie?
The audition process was pretty straightforward. I think I only went in once, maybe twice. It was a while ago. It was 40 years ago, so I don't really remember that part. But
Yeah.
I mean, I really remember the filming because the location was fantastic, and that always helps to have a really cool location. And
Yeah.
I remember getting there, and Mike Lookenland was the groundskeeper.
Oh
And
yeah, from
Mike
Brady Bunch.
Lookenland was, yeah, Bobby
Yeah.
Brady from the Brady Bunch. And
Yeah.
I was kind of like, wow, you can do other things other than just being an actor. You can step into, other crew member jobs. And I think it was like, he was living in Utah and made his money and just wanted to still be a part of it. But
That's great.
I remember how he was blowing those leaves. They were so perfectly placed, and he really
Yeah.
knew how to do it. And I mean, when you look at that film and because people watch these films multiple times.
Oh yeah, still to this day.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So when you see certain things like the certain, movement of a leaf, you can know that was Bobby Brady in charge.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Great
But
trivia.
I mean, I loved working with Donald Pleasance. We didn't have any scenes or anything, but I did get to pick his brain because I was 19 at the time, and already in acting class. So I already knew who he was, and I knew that he was like the actor on
Right.
this.
Awesome.
Yeah, he was really, really friendly, and I asked him a few acting questions, and he just spoke. And I don't even remember what the questions were or the answers. Just remember listening to him with that accent and thinking,
Yeah.
wow, he sounds so important right now. I know what he's saying is really valid, but I'm not taking it.
Yeah. Have you seen it? I mean, obviously, the years that you've been in the business, have you seen a huge difference having, just a few networks when you started on TV, and then obviously, there was, obviously you had to go to the theater to see a big screen movie, and now there's hundreds of streaming services on, TV, and there's a lot of the movies are streaming now before they even go to the theater sometimes. So what are your thoughts on that evolution over the years? Because you've been part of that whole thing. So when you first started to now, I mean, it does just blow your mind where we are now.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like watching, probably what the Valley looked like 70 years ago, right? The Southern California Valley, when it was all, or 90 years ago, when it was just all orchards and wide open space, and a train ran through it, and Hollywood was starting to get in. Progress is great. I love progress. I accept that everything changes, and I also accept that everything is connected. And paying attention to what's out there right now is overwhelming, but there's so much great programming, and I think that anything that's good is going to find its way to the airwaves, which is really great for the independent producer.
Yep.
It's really great for the people that don't have the opportunity to get their shows on network TV, and it doesn't even guarantee that network TV is going to be better than what HBO or Amazon or Netflix or Hulu or Sunn Stream is playing.
That's
so I think that, yay, more opportunity, yay, more job creation, yay, more revenue, yay, more entertainment. Like for us now, the average viewer, programming is like walking into a library. You're never going to be able to read all these books, but you can certainly pick and choose the one that you want to engage with and celebrate that and tell your friends about that. Like I told my boyfriend last night when we were falling asleep, I'm like, we watch so much intense, violent action stuff at night. Can we please watch a comedy?
Yeah, exactly. I'm the same way.
And he
I'm a
said,
horror fan, but I like to watch comedy to kind of rejuvenate that, that happy part of me in my brain.
we need to laugh. We
Yeah,
need to laugh as a species. It's part of our cleansing. It's really healthy for your body. It's good for your serotonin levels. It's vital. We need it. So we
yeah,
watched Dave
absolutely.
Chappelle last night, and man, I was like, wow, I got exactly what I wanted. I wanted to laugh. It's great. But when would you be able to do this 20 years ago, where you're
Right.
just like, yeah, I want to watch. Hmm.
You got to go to Blockbuster and rent a
Right. Yeah.
VHS tape.
You're like, it's 9:30, babe. It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
You're like, oh, and now we're just like, wah, wah,
that's
wah,
it.
wah.
Yeah,
We're,
in 2
we're,
seconds you're there. Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
luxury to have this much.
So, with that being said, with all the different, programming that's on, which is great for if you're an actor or entertainer, sometimes it gets overwhelming if you're you're a viewer. Like you said, you have to pick and choose what you're going to, latch onto. So, I know that kind of goes into, uh, being familiar outside, I guess, on the streets or somebody recognizing you if you're on like some a network that maybe isn't like one of the more popular ones, but you're doing great work. That's the other thing I tell my actors. It's like it's not about being famous. It's about enjoying what you do and doing your art and doing your craft and enjoying it, being good at it. Do it for yourself. Do it for your inner being. Don't do it to be famous. And that's, I think, what a mistake that a lot of people make is they want to be famous, but sometimes that has a dark side to it as well, right?
Well, you're absolutely right. There are two ways to manifest. There's an egocentric way, and then there's a soul centric way. And the egocentric way is it kind of squishes you a little bit in your, even when you think about it, like, I need to lose 20 pounds. Just saying that just sucks,
Yeah, right.
I mean, it just sounds like a drag already. But if you come at life saying, I'm fit, vital, and healthy, now you're projecting that. And that's already what you are anyway, because you're here. If you're able to say anything, you're already ahead of the game.
Right.
So I don't know. I think you're right about that angle and approach, because it doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. And even seeking that fame, there's a lot of hardship that comes with that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of great being an actor that works and somewhat recognizable, but not burdened by it. I mean, I can
Right.
do whatever I want in life. There's no big deal for me. I mean, once in a while I'll get recognized, but it's never. I mean, I'm aspiring to be a regular on a television show again. That's my goal. That's my
Right.
intention, and I'm doing it because I love to work. I love to bring entertainment. I love to have a regular job. It brings financial freedom. It brings, other people can count on me. It's like I'm a good person to hire because I show up and I do my best. And,
Yeah.
like I want to bring that to somebody's production. Like, you won't have to worry about me. I'm not a pain in the ass. And,
Yeah. Right.
and that's why Branscombe keeps hiring me.
Yeah. Right.
Because when you start bringing in your friends, it can get a little dodgy.
Right.
It can really kind of boomerang in not a good way. So it's nice to have that feeling of, no, like you said, like, this is something I'm good at. This is something I love.
Right.
And this is something I want to keep giving of myself, because they are 5 a.m. call times and you do wrap at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Film work, any of it, videos, music videos, commercials, television, film. I mean, they are all like, say goodbye to your day. You don't get there and go, so when am I going to be leaving? you get there and you go, I'm here until we wrap.
Yeah, there's a lot of hurry up and wait. I know when I've been on sets, it's been all day long, and for our listeners out there that think it's glamorous, it's anything but for the most part. Obviously, it's spiritual when you see your performance on screen and you knocked it out of the park. I mean, there's nothing better. But there's a lot of work that goes into that, and I think a lot of people that want to get into the industry don't realize that end of things, and they think it's glamour and glitz and glamour and all that. It's really not. And I think that turns people off sometimes, but you got to go into it with knowing that you're going into it for the right reasons, that you love it, and that you're a creative person, and that you work your butt off to get to where you are. And if you have that right attitude, and you treat people on set the right way, they treat you the right way, there's nothing better, I think. And that's my opinion.
Agreed. It's such a collaborative, putting paint on a canvas as a group, and it's, you can't paint over somebody else's paint, and you want to support that color they chose.
Yeah, that's right.
You want to be that collaborative team person, because you want them to have your back as you have theirs, and it's a supreme game of trust.
Yep.
And even when it does come time for those red carpet moments that look really glamorous, and you're showing up to see your movie for the first time, you're pretty much scared shitless, because you don't know how it's going to end up, and you're hoping that the good stuff remains and that the bad stuff got carved out, and that if there wasn't a performance on set, that maybe the editor was able to carve one out, and the sound guy was able to bump up the levels of your voice, and the music guy was there to create some more emotion. I mean, there's so many components that you have nothing to do with once you drive away.
Your part is done, and then
your part is done,
but you're on 20 other people to do their part, right?
You're praying to God that they do their part.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that everybody is, still friends at the end of it. It doesn't always work that way either.
Yeah, right. That's true.
Where, before the movie even wraps, people are.
Yeah.
So, it's a lot of egos.
Right? You're going to get along with some and not others.
Yeah, but you want to get along with as many as you can. And, because in this industry, people go from PA to producer in lightning speed.
Yeah.
And who was below you before is now your boss. Right. So there's no set of rules in this industry. My younger brother, John Smitty Smith, is now the director of Warner Brothers studio operations, and he started as a second AD on second unit on Renegade.
That's just a perfect example of how you can, if you do things the right way, you can rise up quickly in this industry. And with that being said, with all the stuff that you've done and all the sets you've been on, and directing, producing, writing, and acting, what's that one thing that you look back on and makes you smile? What's that one thing that you remember through all the years? Is there one thing that you look back on that just have this great memory of?
I would say That Thing You Do is such a fond moment, because Tom Hanks called me up on the phone and said, "Will you be in my movie?" And that's first he had to say, "Hi, this is Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Will you be in my movie?" It was really, really like, please, like, you just kind of going, oh my gosh. I mean, I already loved him so much as an actor. And then to be in his first writing, directing, and I don't think he's done it since. He hasn't written or directed anything since. I think it was maybe like, well, I did it and that was great.
Yeah.
Check.
Tried it once. Yeah.
And that was just really awesome. I mean, everything I did on Renegade, especially because of all the personal stuff that was going on amidst doing that show,
Sure.
I really found out what I was capable of, to be able
Yeah.
to set personal stuff aside and be able to come in and do a job and enjoy it. It wasn't like I was pretending to, want to be there. I really
Right.
wanted to be there, and they made it available for me. And working with Stephen Cannell was just amazing. He was
Yeah.
so gracious, so down to earth, just a beautiful human being. And we just did this beautiful memorial tribute that Branscombe Richmond has produced, and I'm really excited to see how that turns out because they brought everybody I
Oh,
mean, as many people as they could gather that ever worked on a
sure.
Stephen Cannell show.
Wow, that'd be great. I can't wait to see that. Is it going to be for public viewing or?
Oh yes, I think it will
Okay.
be on Sunn Stream.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
yes.
And just so everybody knows, Sunn Stream, SUNN Stream, is an app that you can actually put on your phone, and it's also on your TV as well. And that's where Kangaroo Kids is streaming exclusively right now. And there's also great other programming on there. So please pull that up, because I think I pulled it up immediately and watched the movie, and there's some great stuff on there, and the quality, the production quality is so amazing. So please pull that up and see. Kathleen and Branscombe and everybody else that was in part of that great production. The other thing before we go, I wanted to, ask you, your advice, any kind of advice you give our listeners. I always like to have the celebrities, kind of talk about something from their own experience that either they did and they wish they didn't, or they didn't and they wish they did, throughout your career. So what kind of advice can you give our listeners?
I've taken a lot of headshots through the years, and I remember just bringing in so many clothes and not really being specific about anything. And I recently, over the last 5 years, I've given this advice to a lot of my actor friends, especially people that are just starting out and talking about headshots. And here's how it goes. You choose somebody who's within your age range and likeness that you love and is crushing it right now. So for me, I would pick like Robin Wright,
Mhm.
or uh, we'll just go with her. So I pulled all of Robin's most recent art, all of her, great photographs that she has. And I would take like 5 or 7 of those favorite pictures that I liked, and have things that I liked about it, the hair or the makeup or the outfit or the background or the body language or just the vibe, the emotional content that was going on in her face. And then I would recreate that for myself.
Okay, great.
In any kind of recreation, there's always going to be something different about it,
Right.
right? Because it's going to be you, number one. But at least you're coming in with, well, here's my 3 outfits. These are the 3 things that I'm going to replicate. But here's all of my characters that I'm right for. Like
Oh,
for
that's
me at
good.
my
That's good.
age, I'm like
Yeah.
great to play the principal or the CEO or something. So that's kind of like a corporate thing. But then, within that same corporate idea, or not having to be in that I can also be the mom. I can
Right.
also be the girlfriend or the mistress. But it's like I create something in my mind within this outfit and background and idea. And now I'm creating a character. So here's my cop, my friendly cop, or my
Right.
cop. It's like the bad cop. Here's my good cop. Here's my bad cop.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the specificity that is so vital in certain things for an actor, especially in a headshot, because that is your first introduction to this casting director's eyes, and they look at them on a thumbnail, basically,
Yep.
and they have to be professional, because professional shots say you give a shit and you're investing in your career. It's a financial investment that says, I'm serious about this.
It's a first impression that the casting directors have, right? I mean, it's,
absolutely. And it may be the only one.
Right.
Because
correct.
if they see a backyard photo that somebody snapshotted with their iPhone, on the chairlift up in Mammoth, it's not a professional shot. It's a snapshot. Right. This doesn't say I'm a professional, serious actor.
Yep.
And I'm going to show up as such when you hire me because I've been investing in this career. All the celebrities you see, all that great art that we see, those are professional photographers. Right. They didn't pay for them, but somebody did. Yeah, right. The magazine that hired the photographer to shoot the famous person. Yep. Okay, so all that art looks amazing because it was done by a professional photographer.
And by the way, that photographer gave a shit at what they did too. So they're professionals as well. So when you hire a professional, it's their name on the line for that picture.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It's their name underneath the photo generally.
Yeah.
That's why when you see an Annie Leibovitz photo, it's going to have her name on it, but you're going to know it's her photo by the way the photo
right away. Yeah.
Just by the artistic value.
Exactly.
The lens, the lighting. Now look, you can do everything outside and use all natural lighting, but use a professional photographer who has a professional lens, who knows how to make it look great, because it's shadows and light, my friend, and it is what's going on in the eyes. That's it.
Yeah.
Shadows and light and what's happening in the eyes. And if you look blank and vague and you're just taking like, this is me smiling, nobody's going to care.
Right.
But if you have something seriously going on in that brain where like there's nothing more interesting than watching an actor think, but like a real actor thinking about it, it's that to me is like, this is going to be your first step in the door. And obviously a headshot's really important, but nothing will ever trump the value of class and study and knowing your craft before you do any of it. But once you do, start going to class and start hitting those boards and start getting those nerves out and getting comfortable being in front of people and learning lines and making choices and taking criticism and not imploding, but just going like, oh, okay, so that's how you want me to do it next. All right. Being pliable, learning how to not take it so freaking personally, but just like taking it in and absorbing the new direction and being able to do it. Like we can all do that. We're all follow directions, bake a cake, drive to a new location. It's the same thing. So I think that, those are my two strongest things because, people waste a lot of money on headshots. But if you have a specific game plan, like a shot list, like the way a director would approach his day, they don't just go, okay, well, here's the script. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? No, exactly. They're heavily prepared. They don't waste a second. And I'll tell you what, if you show up to a photographer and you're like, this is what I want to do, and you have those pictures on your phone, you're like, this one, this one, this one, this one, that one, this is what we're kind of going for. We'll see what we get. Just having the template of a game plan, poof, like the guesswork is gone. And now you can create and be spontaneous and find something that wasn't happening in a Robin Wright photo, but like I brought something new to the same
something new, a new twist to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's great advice. That's the first time anybody's ever out of 185 episodes said that, but it's so important. The headshots. I'm glad you mentioned that because it's such a big deal. And, I directed music videos and all I had to go on was people's headshots. And so I did my own casting as an indie director. And if I didn't have a good headshot, I wouldn't know what this person could do on film, just from a still. So it's so important. And like you said, just go, going in prepared. I think that's the other thing is just to be prepared. It shows that you're professional, it shows you care about it. So that's a tremendous advice that you gave. So thank you. And I know our listeners, thank you as well. I want to ask you something I ask everybody, but What do you want your legacy to be, Kathleen? What do you want people to think about when it's all said and done about Kathleen Kinmont?
That's such a great question. Wow. I guess first thing that I would want to think is that she was kind, that I'm kind and I care, and that I showed up, and that I was generous, that I was a good listener, that I was fun to, work with. I guess that would be enough. And that I was a great mom. I guess that would be the mom. A mom
that's incredible. Yeah, incredible. Love to hear that. I mean, it's that's one thing I've always was curious about, how everybody wanted to be remembered, and because I think we all think about that at some point, and so that's tremendous, and I appreciate that. Kathleen, thank you for taking the time to be on my show. I really appreciate that. And, the new movie Kangaroo Kids is out, came out on Christmas. So everybody listening, make sure you go on to Sunn Stream, SUNN Stream. Check out Kangaroo Kids. Kathleen's performance was amazing, as was everybody's. Like she mentioned, the kids and everybody that was in the movie, and Branscombe and everybody else. And just best of luck with that and anything in the future. I know you have some other things on the horizon. Is there anything you can talk about that you have coming out?
I do. Actually, there's a movie that I just finished with Kristana Loken called Vice and Virtue. Kristana is the female Terminator from T3, and this is something that she produced from her company, and we play sisters. Nice. And it's just a really far out there, wildly just a really unique story, and so that should be out soon. I don't know what platform that will be on yet, but I'll definitely let you know. Yeah,
let me know so we can put it on our social media. And you're always welcome back on the show, Kathleen, and I really appreciate you being on, and welcome back anytime, and can't wait to hear about your new film coming out. So thanks again for being with us, and Happy New Year.
Thank you so much, David. Happy New Year to you too.